The Amazing Spider-Man 2, a follow-up to The Amazing Spider-Man. And for the most part, I do like this movie, but I do have some issues with it as well. And so what I like about this movie is the opening scene. We, uh, um, we get to know why Peter Parker's parents abandoned him in the first place. Apparently, Richard Parker, uh, he's working on like a science experiment, and what he's working on is valuable, make a lot of money. People would pay a lot to have it. Apparently, something that could be weaponized, and he realized what people are going to do um, with his data. So he takes it and runs away. He drops Peter Parker at Aunt May and Uncle Ben's house, and they're on an airplane. Apparently, he's trying to save the data to a backup server somewhere. And see a guy come in. He probably works for Oscorp, and he locks Mary Parker in the bathroom. He has a firearm with him. You get like a fight scene between him and Richard on an airplane, and it causes like the airplane to explode. The pilot got killed. So apparently, whatever Richard was working on is something that's not good, and maybe something sinister is here at play. Now, I knew about Peter Parker's parents. I knew that they died in a plane crash from the comics, but it looks like this plane crash wasn't an accident. They were targeted. What for? I really don't know. Who was behind it? We just don't know. So I was very intrigued to see where they would go with this here. So after that, Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy, they're in a relationship. It's a complicated relationship following the first film. Peter Parker and Aunt May, their relationship has some conflict. Their relationship is not perfect like Tobey Maguire and Rosemary Harris. These two people do have some issues going on. A lot of arguments and debates. And there's a scene here where Aunt May admits to Peter Parker the truth about what happened to his father. After the plane crash, there was a funeral. Two government agents knocked on their door. They told them that what they were working on, again, was valuable. People would pay to have it. They were going to weaponize the experiment. And so Peter got dropped off at their house. And he goes off to find out more information about his father. And he found that his father was running a laboratory in a secret underground train station, one that FDR used to hide his polio from the public. So Peter goes to the lab. He finds a video from his father, kind of explaining everything what happened. He said the experiment he was working on had his DNA in it. It can only work with Peter Parker, so no one else can because they don't have his DNA. With him gone, that means the project that he was working on would be shut down. The gentleman makes an appearance in this movie. I was very intrigued into him, seeing what they were doing. Apparently, they were building to the Sinister Six. Harry Osborn is introduced in this movie, and we get Electro, Max Dillon. He's like the Peter Parker of Oscorp. He works for them. He's bullied. No one really likes him. He becomes Electro by fixing a electric grid that's broken. He slips and falls into a pool filled with electric eels. Becomes Electro. I like Electro in this movie. He kind of posed a threat for Spider-Man. He was pretty cool. My issues with this movie. There's a few of them. Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy. Their relationship. Their relationship was alright, but it did become an annoyance in the film. It kind of took over from the main plot. And I'm not for these romance angles in superhero films. I'm not here for that. First Amazing Spider-Man movie did it right. Spider-Man 1 also did it right. Once we got to the second movie, the third movie, it just became an annoyance. The New Goblin, Harry Osborn. Harry Osborn in the movie, his father is dying of what's called the Goblin disease, and it needs Peter's blood to cure him. So he injects himself with with a serum that came from the spiders that bit Parker. And the spiders has Richard Parker's DNA in it. And it's incompatible with his blood and turns him to the New Goblin. And in the movie, Spider-Man refuses to give him his blood. And he finds out that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. Kind of at the end. And I didn't really like this because they turned him into a New Goblin too quickly. First they were friends. Him and Peter were friends in the beginning of the movie. And at the end they're fighting each other. What for? Why? I wouldn't have made him the New Goblin. I don't like the New Goblin. Gave me nightmares of Spider-Man 3. They're treading Spider-Man 3 territory with Peter and Gwen's relationship and the New Goblin. I didn't really like Rhino in this movie. He didn't really serve a purpose. This movie, Spider-Man 3, trash can into his face. That's what ended the movie. He also had an overabundance of villains. He had Rhino, Electro, and the New Goblin. They only needed one. I would just use Electro. I'm fine with Harry Osborn in the film, but I would not have made him the New Goblin. Gwen Stacy's death. I did not like that at all. I liked the fight scene between Spider-Man and the New Goblin, but they killed off Gwen too early. I probably would have waited till the third film if they made one. So, there goes that. As far as my rating of this film, I would give it an 8 out of 10. I liked the film. I thought it was okay. Pretty good, I guess, but I just have some issues with this one. And as for the next main Spider-Man movie, it didn't happen. They canceled it. They rebooted Spider-Man into MCU, which at that time I wasn't really a fan of. I was enjoying to see what was going to happen with Peter Parker and the mystery behind his parents, but I guess that didn't happen. Oh well. So that was your Amazing Spider-Man 2 review.